email from a guy named Amar. I guess that's an Indian name. A-M-A-R.
It could be Indian or Pakistani.
That's,
Hindu or Muslim.
That's right. Okay, so then at the end of the email, he says, people complain about not enough black people on your show, but how about Indians? Where's the love for brown, subcontinental, second-generation immigrants? I suggest you get Hari Kondabolu on your show, or you can get, if you can't get Hari, like he's tough to get. You can get Aziz, which is just so much easier.
Yeah, easier to get Aziz, yeah, definitely.
So I wrote back, I said, I like Hari, he's not out here too often. Kumail Nanjiani, am I saying it right?
Close enough.
Just say it.
Nanjiani.
Kumail Nanjiani.
Perfect.
Okay, is coming by today, Pakistan. You okay with that, pal? And then I get back in caps, death to Pakis.
Really?
Yeah.
Death to Pakis.
Yeah, and then I wrote, I'll bring that up with him.
I like somebody who's like forward enough to want racial diversity on your show.
Right.
But draw the line at Pakistanis, you know? Like, well, let's not go.
Well, I'm assuming that he's Indian.
Yeah,
and from what I understand, there's some tension there.
Yeah, there has been historically.
Yeah, and the original idea of Pakistan was to create a Muslim state, no?
Yeah, I think it was the first country made purely for religious reasons.
Okay, but it was originally part of India.
Mm-hmm.
It was all one big country.
Yeah, India, Pakistan, Bangladesh were all big one.
Right, so then we get this kind of crap.
Yeah.
Do you find that in your life? I mean, like, I know Hari Kondabolu. He's a funny guy. He does an Indian version of me, which I find flattering. I know Aziz, kind of. I thought he was Pakistani, though.
No, Aziz is Muslim, but he's Indian.
Okay, well, let's not get religious.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, is there tension outside of religion between Pakistanis and Indians? Set aside the Muslim Hindi thing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I have a lot of Indian friends. I don't think, historically, if you're there, it's easy because you're like, all you hear is India sucks, or if you're in India, Pakistan sucks. So you gotta, unless you get out of there, it's hard to escape that mindset,
Hold on, I'm fixing the heater. Okay. Well, I find that they both seem to be problematic for me, but not in the same way they might be problematic for you. Just on a global level, it seems Pakistan is a bit chaotic. We don't really know what's going to happen. India, very poor, but doing a lot of things with the making great progress in a lot of different areas. It's not a problem to me, but there seems to be a fairly profound class struggle there. I'm not going to get into it.
There's class struggles both in Pakistan and India. I mean, the disparity of wealth in both those countries is huge.
Well, you and I have had our issues. But they have nothing to do with ethnicity.
No, we just personally had issues. So
I don't think it's issues. I mean, you came up to me, I didn't know who you were, you said you're a big fan, then you watched me, and then I watched you, and then all of a sudden I thought you got attitude, but then you said you were just nervous, and now you're out here.
Yeah, you're a very intimidating guy, especially because, I watched a lot of you, and I was a big fan forever.
Did I ruin that?
No,
right.
You didn't, but, I think I was just a little intimidated.
Well, the funny thing is, the first time I saw you, I was like, I don't quite get it. And then I watch you. You're very funny. You tell stories. You're very good at it. You're smart. You use good language. You're very personal. And I'm a fan. So can we set it all aside?
It's all gone.
Do you feel better?
Yeah. It's been gone.
So, all right. So it's been gone before. So what?
Yeah.
So now you're from Pakistan originally. But you grew up here.
No, I was 18 when I moved here.
That's pretty recent.
Mm-hmm.
How old are you now?
31.
Well, not that recent, but most of your formative years were in Pakistan.
Definitely.
So you left, your family left.
I left, I came alone. I was
just
18.
You had enough, or?
I was like, fuck this place. I was like, it's so hot and poor over here. I'm hungry all the time. No, it was, there was always the plan, like my mom was, I went to an English-speaking school because the plan was always just get me out of Pakistan.
Right. For an education or for good?
For good. For good.
Why? Because they sensed that it was not going well there? Or, do they not...
Yeah, the burning cars were a good hint.
Really? You wake up, there's burning cars. Well, maybe we should go.
Well, it's weird because all you hear about Karachi here is negative stuff. Like, we only make the news if we're doing something terrible, All
right, well, talk about some good stuff. I know there's some fine breads and...
Our food is fucking amazing.
The best. It's the best.
It's the best food.
Does your mom actually have a clay oven?
No, she doesn't.
Then how does she make naan?
She buys it from people who have clay ovens. She doesn't make them herself.
Does she make anything by herself?
Yeah.
Some
She's
of
an
the
amazing
chickpea
cook.
dishes or the lamb dishes?
Yeah, she's an amazing
Just the
cook.
bread she outsources.
She outsources the bread. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. But rice, she makes rice on her own. Dosas. I mean, she's an amazing cook.
She makes dosas on her own, so she's got that pan.
She's got that one, yeah. Well,
Okay.
that's like a wok, like a flat thing, you know.
Right, yeah.
A clay oven, you need like infrastructure and shit.
Yeah, I was thinking about getting one, but I'm not even Indian or Pakistani. And even though I like the food a lot, I think it would be extravagant.
No, it's great. It's great food.
Yeah. So tell me some other good things about Pakistan. Is it pretty?
Not Karachi. Karachi's not pretty.
But like the country, do you like, let's take a ride to and enjoy life?
Well, you'd have to go pretty far, yeah.
To where?
Like up north, Kashmir, around there is very pretty. But, you know, I mean, part of
Is
our
that a
problem-
day trip or is it,
No, that's, you know, you gotta fly
can you get there in a car?
It would take you a long time.
Really?
Yeah, you gotta fly there. Well, I mean, and part of the reason we're so poor is that it's not very green, you know. I mean, a big chunk of Pakistan is desert, and then it's a mountainous region, so it's not that pretty.
I hear it's very easy for the Taliban to hide in.
Yeah, it's very easy. We've got some great nooks and crannies.
It's just teeming with Taliban, all the nooks and crannies of the Pakistani countryside.
You know, the Northwest is teeming with Afghanis. I mean, we had guns. You know, when I went to high school, there would be kids who'd have bodyguards with AK-47s, and they would come to school with these bodyguards who had AK-47s. And these are all guns. We call them Kalashnikovs. These are all guns from, like, back when Afghanistan
Okay,
was
let's go back
fighting.
to these kids. Which kids specifically? Was that just something, a service that some parents could afford? Or
Yeah, I mean, like I said, the disparity of wealth.
so the
you
guys
know?
would sit there with the guns next to him at the desk? Like he'd be at a
No,
desk?
no. They would drop them off and then pick them up at the end of the day. And these were a lot of, like, kids of, like, politicians and ministers and stuff like that.
Yeah, it always seems that Pakistani's about to be in big trouble. Or it's in big trouble. Pretty perpetually in big trouble.
Yeah, it's always up and down. I mean, there's some good weeks. Yeah,
Good weeks.
we get good weeks, a couple good weeks a year.
So where did you end up first when you came to the States?
I went to Iowa. I left Karachi and I landed in Des Moines.
There's
Iowa.
no nooks and crannies in Iowa.
No,
it's very
just
flat.
Yeah,
But I guess the Taliban could hide in the cornfields.
they didn't come
Or the
with
pig
me.
farms.
They stayed back there.
Oh, they did? You
They
didn't bring
don't
them?
need. What are they going to do in Iowa? What are they going to bomb?
I thought, did you bring a couple of guys with Kalashnikovs to protect you in Iowa?
No, they couldn't get through the metal detector.
So it was your choice? You were like, I'm going to the States, going to Iowa.
Yeah,
Where the fuck does that come from? Why would you do that?
Well,
I have nothing against Iowa other than who goes there.
well, you've clearly never lived there. That's why you have nothing against it. No, I love that. Well, you know what? It was great for me because if I go from Pakistan, if I'm going from Karachi to New York, nobody's going to give a shit about me. You know, another Pakistani in New York, but you go to Iowa, there's not that many people around. You can slowly, like, get used to the cultural stuff, you know. And
Which cultural stuff would that be in Iowa?
I mean, everything's
Just
different.
white people, you mean?
No, I mean, everything's different.
No, I know that. I
didn't-
understand that, but it's not is it a good representation of the States? Or you found it
It's a good stepping stone.
entry level?
It's a gateway to the States.
It's a
yeah.
gateway to the States. Well, it's good. So then you're in the weird position, the awkward position to having had to leave one country and then getting to that same feeling with a state. Like, I've got to get out.
Oh
of here.
yeah, definitely.
What spurred that on? What was the exile from Iowa about?
Well, it was mostly about getting out of Iowa. I mean, I love Iowa, but there's nothing there. I mean, what are you going to do after I graduate from school? And
so
I
you
wanted
went
to
to-
pursue comedy. Yeah, I went
You went
to
to
school.
college here. Where'd
Yeah,
you
I
go to
went-
college?
It's called Grinnell College. It's a tiny school in, like, a town of 9,000 people.
Were you the only Pakistani?
No, there were like 3 of us, I
Shit,
think.
that must have been rough.
Yeah.
Did you like the other two?
We're competing for attention. Yeah, they were fine, I guess.
Did you
I
guys
don't
speak
know.
Pakistani?
One of them was named Amar, that's why. Huh?
Did you
What's-
speak your native language? What is your native language?
Urdu. It's spoken the same as Hindi, but it's a different script.
What do you mean a different
So,
script?
you know, it's the opposite. So, like, English and Spanish is the same script, but different languages, spoken differently. Hindi and Urdu are the opposite. So they're spoken the same, but when you write them down, they look completely different. So I can talk to somebody who speaks Hindi, but
if
I
he
can't
wrote
read
you a
what he
letter,
says.
you'd be lost.
No, yeah, it would look like squiggles.
Why'd they design it like that? That seems ridiculous.
I don't know. They use a Sanskrit script or whatever. and we
Yeah, but
use
who
the
made
Arabic.
that choice? Why'd they have to create a difference at that level if you're both speaking the same language?
I don't know, man.
You haven't speculated about this?
No,
Come on, you're a thinker.
I've put no
Why'd they
thought
do that
into
to you?
that. I've put no thought into that.
All right, so you and the other two Pakistani guys are in Iowa speaking what is
Urdu,
it?
Urdu, yeah.
And
Urdu.
people are like, look at them. They're interesting.
It is true. I mean,
did white girls sort of like seek you out?
well, the weird thing was it was so like there was so much like liberal white guilt that people didn't want to acknowledge race at all. So it was almost like people would go out of their way to not ask me about Pakistan.
Really?
Yeah, and I mean,
Isn't that offensive in its own way?
it is. I mean, and that was an attitude that I had for a while. Like doing stand-up was I wouldn't talk about being Pakistani, and then I sort of worked into finally being able to talk about it.
Like, what was your first breakthrough surprise on a Pakistani joke?
I don't even. Oh, there was one joke, stupid, where I go. People always want me to do ethnic jokes, so I wrote this ethnic joke, and then I just talk in Urdu for like a couple minutes. That was like the first one.
I'd like to hear a little Urdu.
Oh, what do you want me to say?
I'd like you to say that Marc Maron's podcast is really spectacular.
Most of those words are not even going to be translated.
Okay, then why don't you say, this is a very nice garage.
Kafi acha garage hai.
Garage?
Garage hai.
He, so you just add he at the end?
No, kafi acha garage hai. There's more before garage too.
Kafi chakra?
Kafi.
Kafe?
Very.
Very.
Acha
Acha?
is good.
Okay.
Garage
Garage.
is garage.
And then he.
He is.
Oh, so you threw the is after the garage.
No, I didn't just throw it there. That's how we do it.
No, but I thought you were just like you were adding like he to the end of garage because that's what you do when the word doesn't exist in your language.
No, we don't do that. We just say the word. We just say the word. Marc Maron ki podcast bahut zabardast hai.
He. Do you always throw is at the end?
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
Huh. I have no aptitude for languages. Do you speak any other languages?
No, I tried to learn Spanish because I thought I'd probably have an aptitude, and I was terrible at it.
Really?
I think it's just because I
different script.
Speaking since I was a kid, Yeah, I could read Spanish.
How'd you get the English under your belt?
I was like 5 or something when I started learning English. I remember actually the day I started learning English in school. They were showing us a picture of a tiger, and they were like, tiger.
Yeah.
I remember being pissed off, like, I already know how to say this word. Why do I need a whole new way
What was the word that you knew?
Word? Cheetah, which is,
That's a different animal.
No, that's what we call tiger.
Well, you're wrong.
That's what we call it.
What do you call a cheetah?
Tiger.
Okay. Yeah.
That's a weird language.
So now let's talk about the problems.
The problems?
I think it's an interesting story. That you were performing a one-man show.
Uh-huh.
Can we talk about this?
We could talk about it a little bit.
In a general way?
In a general way, yeah.
That you were performing the one-man show in New York about your family. What was it about?
About me. It was sort of...
It was about your personal religious struggle.
Yeah.
With your heritage and...
It was about me growing up in Pakistan, moving here.
Right.
That was basically what it was.
And it was a good show. Got a lot of critical acclaim.
I was proud of it.
Okay.
I liked it.
So why'd you stop doing it?
Many reasons. One, it felt weird. You gave a confessional on stage, but for me it was really weird because it was this really personal story that I wanted to tell. That was like a big, I wanted to do it. It was like a personal therapy thing to articulate these things. But when I was on stage and I would do the show afterwards, I felt like all these people thought they knew me, and they would come up and be like, "Oh, your parents now," and that kind of would bug me. I just on stage.
You should do radio. Jesus Christ, they actually
vulnerable.
Yeah. But you do that more now. You mean maybe the show sort of broke you open to that. But
it did.
But this, so you felt the way I feel after most sets. Like last night, I walked away feeling like, why did I just rape myself on stage? Why did I divulge?
Well, it's not as intense as when you go on stage. But I try and, I want to give the audience a little piece of who I am. But there are certain things that what's so amazing about you is that you can go up there and basically, it seems to me, really, really bare your soul, right?
Yeah.
That's part of what you want to do up there, right?
Not the crying part.
Not just without the tears.
I think that I personally get tired of the language of comedy. And I've been tired of it a long time.
I understand.
I find that jokes are limiting. And I feel that a lot of times as comics, we get up there and all of a sudden it's like, hey, how's everybody doing?
Yeah.
And we literally get on stage and then limit ourselves to a tone,
to a persona,
to a cadence, to a rhythm, to a structure that are jokes. I think my jokes happen organically. I do have structured jokes, but they don't.
Right.
I don't structure them on paper. So what I began to feel was like, I think a lot of why people laugh at what I do is that it is just because it is real,
right.
and it is confessional, and it is a little uncomfortable.
Right.
And I think that, in my mind, a good joke will always trump just about anything, but you can take a good joke, you can laugh at it because of a turn of phrase or a reference or a rhythm to it. You can repeat it, but to have the experience where that stuff gets pushed aside and you just are engaged and laughing because of a feeling,
right.
to me, that is very rewarding and not easy to repeat all the time. But as I say things more joke structure, as you know, most of my writing is done on stage, and it develops over time. I have to say it up there first. It starts out confessional and disconcerting, maybe a little uncomfortable, but hopefully it'll evolve into something that is comfortable up there.
Yeah, it's really impressive that you can do that. And
it's not a marketable skill, really.
No, it is. It is. I mean, you had one-man shows that were very well regarded and reviewed, and, they were hits and everything, and I think... that's the interesting thing, is that you can, all this, your darkest thoughts, you can articulate.
But to me,
stage,
it's like
make them relatable. That's
right. Well, I think everybody has them. There's a transparency to it.
Yeah.
Obviously, some of them are going to be like, "This guy's fucked up," and that's fine. So laugh at me and be thankful you're not me.
Right.
Okay. But like with your one-man show, so you did this thing revealing yourself and your personal struggle and your heritage. And it made you uncomfortable, and people knew more about you. And also, I think, as somebody who comes from another place, when people in this country see it, that liberal guilt kicks in as well, and they're concerned and they're excited that you shared this heritage with them, and they assume a certain intimacy with you that you found uncomfortable.
They assume a certain intimacy. They also assume a certain they generalize that then to everything, because it was hard for me to communicate that. This is my journey with the religious stuff and the cultural stuff. This is not how everybody feels. But whenever I do the show, people would sort of generalize that to everyone. And that was weird for me. And also, I think the way the political situation right now is with Muslims sort of demonized and everything, I think my show came at a weird time for that too.
Well, without getting yourself into trouble again somehow, because I know you're sensitive about it, that From what I understand, you're saying that because of the way you handled the religious elements of your show, that you literally got threatened and censored.
Yeah, not censored. I got emails and stuff, and I got threatened and
from people in Pakistan.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, people in Pakistan.
Would they be Taliban people?
No, I don't. I don't know who specifically they were, but the problem is, my last name is very specific, so I'm here and I feel pretty safe. But back there, my family, I wouldn't want them to go through anything because of me. And then ultimately, my parents sort of asked me to not do the show, and it was a tough decision, but I sort of thought about it a lot, and I decided, it's not just my story, it's their story as well, and if they don't want me to tell it, then maybe I don't have the right to tell it anymore,
That's interesting, because I don't know if I necessarily agree with that, but I understand that you certainly don't want to carry the burden of getting somebody in trouble or hurt, to share this story. But maybe at some point, if things change, maybe you will.
Yeah, there were so many things. Another thing was, I'd written the show when I was at a specific point in my life, and then I was performing it up until about maybe 2 years after I wrote it, and I wasn't in that same place anymore. So it felt a little disingenuous to me. It felt a little insincere to me to keep doing the show when a lot of...
You'd work through it. You had worked through the feelings.
It just wasn't as urgent to me. Yeah.
Yeah, I have that stuff with my divorce show, but I find that sometimes when the distance comes, you can actually perform it better with less risk. Personally, but obviously it's a bigger picture with you. Now, did you find that some of this flack comes from the fact that Pakistan is, from what you're saying, a fairly regimented and regulated religious state?
Yeah, we have Sharia law, which is
right.
Law
You have no freedom.
There is no separation of church and state. That's not.
So if you are to question that system.
It's punishable by death. Like saying anything that's considered sacrilegious is punishable by death. Like they kill you.
That's what happened to Salman Rushdie. They didn't kill him, but they put a fatwa.
That's what that was. Yeah, because what he wrote was construed as being.
So you were in a similar situation in a smaller way.
Much, much smaller way. Yeah.
But it could have gotten worse.
Yes, certainly.
Wow, that is some fucking heavy shit.
Yeah.
I don't know how else to say that. But I'm glad you have peace with it in the sense that you had worked through whatever you need to work through and you decided it was a personal issue when you didn't want to take any more risks like that. Because there's part of me as a comic where, and as an American, you think like, oh, fuck them, man. Just do it.
Yeah.
But we don't know what you were going through.
You don't really realize, I mean, this is the thing Americans have. You have this like sense of security that's always there. You assume safety unless it's threatened. Whereas where I'm from, we don't have a sense of security. We don't have that. Like, so when my friends here were like, do it, you'll be fine. It's like, no, might not be fine. I mean, these are real issues.
Yeah, it's not even, but the weird thing is that not only do you not have a sense of personal security, where you're from, but that has legs. That follows you.
Oh, man. Oh,
see,
yeah.
That's the weird thing. Is like, it's such tribal shit in the sense of like, look, we know your family lives here. I mean, that is old school.
Oh, yeah, very old school.
Tribal, stuff.
It's fucking terrifying, yeah.
Well,
and these people, I mean, they think they're doing the right thing. These are things that'll get them into heaven. So it's not even, they're not in their heads doing something bad. They're not bad guys. They're doing the Lord's work, They're like soldiers.
I was under the impression that some of that is a misinterpretation. I mean, we have Orthodox people. Jews are Orthodox. We have radical Christians, and I guess that there is a similarity, but it doesn't. It just seems that they're a little more pliable. Even radical Christians and even Orthodox Jews. I mean, as Orthodox as Jews get, I still see them driving around the Lower East Side in their station wagons cruising for prostitutes.
Really? Wow.
Sure, there are exceptions made. There's more of a negotiation with God.
There is. I think those religions maybe allow for more reinterpretation and stuff like that than maybe at least the way that Islam is in Pakistan does. Because, anytime you question something in the Quran or you try and reinterpret it, that can be construed as sacrilegious and, it's capital punishment. So it sort of stifles any dialogue you can have about it.
So there's no chance of you taking the show to Pakistan?
No. Oh, geez. No, I'd have to get a bunch of guys with AK-47s.
Right, and they might not be on your side.
They won't be on my side. Why would they be on my side?
You got to be careful in Pakistan. You just never knew when there was going to be a coup at your theater presentation.
God. Yeah. No, I mean, it's such a there's always shit going on. We haven't had a government serve a full term since I was born.
Yeah, what is a full? Isn't a
4 years?
Isn't a full term there until you get shot, or?
Yes, I guess many have. Many have.
Or run away,
or blow up in a plane.
Yeah,
that happened.
That's I think in the bylaws of the Constitution.
Yeah, like unless something
a full term ends when someone is assassinated.
Well, I mean, Musharraf, they've tried to kill him like 90-something times.
Yeah, he's like a cat.
That was the thing. Like, when Benazir Bhutto, Benazir Bhutto, right?
Sure.
Like, when she got killed, all these, like, all the countries were issuing statements, like France or whatever, and they were like, this is truly shocking. I'm like, really? Was it really shocking? They've tried to kill her over 100 times. Like, a female head of state in a Muslim nation gets killed. That's not that shocking.
Yeah. It's expected, sadly.
It's a story oft told.
Yeah. Now, you're in America, and you've married an American woman.
Mm-hmm.
From where is she from?
North Carolina.
Not only an American woman, a Southern American woman.
She is very Southern.
And she has a Southern family.
Way Southern.
Like, what are we talking? Civil War Southern? Like, how long's the family been here? Since the Revolution?
Yeah, probably. I mean, they've been around forever.
Now, how was that first? Let's go visit my parents.
It was great. Like, when I told my mom that I was dating this girl, and my mom obviously freaked out. There's a lot of crying and stuff, but then to her credit, my mom was like very accepting of her when she realized that I really love this woman,
Right, so it became
this thing, like, even though it's against, like, her religion and culturally everything's against it, and, our family, I'm sure people talking about it
Yeah.
behind her back and
Yeah.
to her face, but it was really nice that ultimately my happiness is what was most important to her.
But that's not punishable by death, that one?
No.
What's that punishable by?
What? Marrying a white woman?
Yeah.
I think having sex out of wedlock is, you whip. I don't think it's death, but you whip them. Or no, stoned to death. Stoned to death.
Just a woman, though, right? The guy sort of like gets reprimanded.
The guy gets high fives.
Yeah, the guy.
Well,
did
I
you learn something? Do you want to watch her die?
And you know how they do it? They put you in a pit, they throw stones at you. They don't really stone you to death, and then at some point they shoot you.
That seems like cheating. See, now
It
that
is
to
cheating.
me
It is cheating.
is that is going against the rules of the book.
Yeah, because the Quran doesn't mention guns at all.
Yeah.
1400
What's
years
that
ago.
story you talk about?
I was talking to this guy in Saudi Arabia about, we were talking about Saudi Arabia and gender inequality there.
Yeah.
And he said that it wasn't their fault because the Quran said that women shouldn't drive. And I said if the Quran had said 1400 years ago that women shouldn't drive, I would be at the mosque every day. And so would you, Marc Maron. You'd be at the mosque if the Quran had
It's a hell of a
that.
book. It's
Holy shit. This
knew
is
the cars were coming.
clearly the right religion. They're clearly right. Everyone's Muslim, no more strife.
This book knows what it's talking
Yeah.
about. But so, how did her family react to you?
They were great. I don't...
I mean, how Southern are they? Like, so what's your name? How you pronounce it?
Yeah.
They're that Southern?
They called me Borat for the first...
No, they did not.
Yeah.
They called you Borat?
They called me Borat. They called me Borat. And I found out because we're going to a family reunion and her uncle was like, well, she said we can't call you Borat. And I was like, you guys were calling me Borat? And Emily had like a serious talk with them, was like, don't say this, don't say this. But I think that was, I actually think that was like their way of trying to relate to me, like Borat, which is, I think, even the wrong continent, right?
Isn't that, yeah, it is the wrong
It's like
content.
former USSR. I think, they were trying to relate to me, and Borat was the closest they could get. So
they were trying to relate to you by calling you the name of a buffoon who is completely, inappropriate.
Well, who they think is hilarious.
And almost retarded. Right. So you're saying that, like, because you were a comedian?
But I don't think that was part of it. I think
You don't think that if you weren't a comedian, they wouldn't have called you, like, Hussein or Bin Laden?
Well, I'll take Borat over Bin Laden, I guess.
I think so. I think it's a little more a term of endearment.
I'll take it.
But it is just sort of, it is ignorant still. I don't mean to be crass or insult your family. But to call you Borat, I mean, it's cute, but the Southern, white bigots do a lot of things. I'm not saying they're bigots, but it simplifies things.
It does simplify things. And I think that for them, that was the only way that they could relate to me, was by simplifying things. I mean, they haven't met me yet. They've seen pictures of me.
All right, so now they know you. Can they pronounce your name?
Yeah. They called me, I was like, it's Kumail, like email, but with a ku, so like Kumail. And then they called me email for a little while.
But when you're
her parents are
not there,
wonderful.
they probably call you.
I don't know what they call me when
Yeah.
I'm not there. But her parents are great. They're sort of...
Do you think they had the conversation? It's like, well, he's brown, but is he black?
I don't know, man. Like, when I'm down there, you see shirts that are like, the South will rise again and stuff
Yeah,
like that,
sure it will.
It gets pretty, like...
I say let them have it. I say let's let all the people that think that way go to a few states and they can have their own
Those
government.
are your states. We'll put up gates.
Make some money.
Yeah.
I don't care if they put up gates.
Yeah, we'll have immigration. Yeah, we won't go there.
Yeah, no problem.
And you
Enjoy
can't
yourself.
come here. Yeah, exactly.
New York's off limits. No more shows. But the problem is that eventually a lot of people down there, even if they think that way, they want to see a musical. Or
Right, they want to go to Broadway.
Right,
yeah.
they want to go to San Francisco and Fisherman's Wharf, and so that we'll have to give them. They'll have to have passes.
There's only so much in Georgia.
Vacation visas.
Yeah.
So there's been no problems down there for you.
No, they've been very. In fact, I think they think it's kind of cool, like, because it's Southern, pretty white, been there generations, and now suddenly the daughter is married to a Pakistani. Like, that's exotic.
I drifted for a minute. I thought you said that they have another daughter who married a Pakistani.
No, just me.
At that point, they'd have to sort of say,
like, what are we doing wrong? We need to fix something. It's like, we're fucking up in a very specific way.
It's very specific.
Something we did makes all our daughters marry Pakistanis.
That'd be great. Have they crossed any lines with you in the sense of, like, Do they act too polite around some things, or do you know?
Yeah, I mean, definitely. Well, it was funny. Like when I first had like Thanksgiving with them, they and Emily had prepped and whatever. So I was sitting around with the family, and it was fine, nothing. And then I made some crack. Like we were talking about the airport, I make some hack. You know, when you're with family, you make a hack joke. Some hack joke about getting stopped at security or something because of being brown.
Did it happen to you?
I don't even remember if it had. It happens to me, but you know what? Since 9/11, it happens way less. It used to happen to me more.
That's that guilt thing again.
Yeah, it is. It is. It's like they don't want to. Yeah. So actually, I've flown with Eugene Merman a couple of times, and both times he's gotten stopped, and I have not.
Well, he's more dubious.
He is more dubious.
He's Russian and large.
Like, he's with the brown guy. Let's stop him. What's he up to?
Yeah. Well, they stopped him because they thought maybe the bomb was in you. You were traveling with him. Like you were his bomb.
Yeah.
But all right, so you made the hack joke.
Oh, they make some hack like airport joke, and they laughed so hard, like way harder, because they were like, "Finally, he's admitting it."
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
he should have like. Why is this not mentioned yet?
Yeah.
Like the
Did you end the joke with like the funny thing was I had a bomb.
And I had a bomb. Oh, yeah. Death to America.
Yeah.
That was the tag.
Yeah. Happy Thanksgiving. So, all right. Well, now you're in Hollywood. So what was the deal? You had a deal with a network.
Yeah, I had a deal with NBC.
And they saw you where?
I think UCB and a couple of other places.
And they were like, this is it. The time is now. This guy's smart. He talks good.
He's articulate.
He's articulate. He seems to be a good one, a nice one.
He seems to be one of the good ones. It's rare. It's hard to find one of the good ones.
And what was it based on? What's the show?
The show was going to be, it's about me marrying a white girl from North Carolina, you know.
Oh, okay.
Like you said, you know, the first deals are always like really autobiographical, right? That's what you told me.
Yeah. Well, that's what they sort of, that was the old way of giving comedians deals, was that they would hear the act and they'd say, I see a show
like
in
Raymond
his
is
act.
that.
Right.
Yeah.
And there's not too many of them around now, but there used to be a lot of them.
Yeah.
But, you know, fortunately for everyone involved here, it seems like comedies are on the rebound. And what's going on now? So you wrote a script.
Yeah, it was being produced by Conoco, so that
Conan's company.
Yeah, Conan's company
Yeah,
with NBC, so that got kind of weird. And supposedly it's
Well, his production company's still intact, but they're probably trying to get him a job. So
well, they're leaving NBC.
That's what I hear.
Yeah,
I think I saw it in the news somewhere.
Sort of falling out, I think.
Yeah, it's unclear what happened,
yeah,
but apparently there's problems.
It's called Lenoco now.
Oh, no.
Oh, here we go. No, so I think it's been sort of pushed to mid-season, and we're looking towards that. But I mean, you know, I don't know.
Towards being considered for mid-season.
Yeah, of course.
Right.
Yeah. So it's still.
Don't look at me like I'm taking a shot.
No. You're not taking a shot. I mean, I know how these things go. You know how these things go.
I know how these things go. I tried to tell you that.
No, you did. So
you wouldn't be upset.
No. I mean, you know, it's
I was
hard
looking out for you.
I know but it's hard to not be upset. But I mean, I talked to them recently, and they said that I don't know what this means, but they said that they want to. You know, in May, start it up again and look towards mid-season. And now I'm on.
Now you just got to hope that the people that said that are still working there in May.
Yeah, I mean, but that's how it is. You know, it's always going to be like this. But I'm like here, like reading for they had me go out on some NBC auditions. And stuff.
That must have been great. Did you have to?
Other people's shows who actually did.
Now, did you packy it up?
Well, the show is called Outsourced. Yep. Next week I'm reading for.
I am not going to answer that phone.
No.
I am not going to answer that phone.
Hello. What would you like to order?
Come on.
Next week I'm reading for Arranged Marriage.
Oh no.
And then one just called Third World Hunger. That's the next one.
That's hilarious. A new comedy with Russell Peters.
It's just hunger. He's not hungry. He's doing great.
He owns the world, Russell Peters.
He has hundreds of millions of dollars.
He has his own religion. It's Russell Peterism.
What's your take on Russell Peters?
I have no idea what he does or who
You've
he
never
is.
heard any of his stuff?
I've heard him for 5 minutes, and he talks with an Indian accent, and he writes jokes. It sounds like it's all just straight ahead, one-liners almost.
He does a lot of different, but he does his whole thing is he does an Asian accent, and he'll do black people, he'll do everything.
Oh, so he's like an equal opportunity offender, but he's doing it as a from an Indian
So he can
baseline.
sort of get away with it, yeah.
Yeah, Jews used to be able to do that. No more.
Yeah, you guys got too powerful. I mean, it's the blessing and the curse, like.
I don't know if we got too powerful. We just, I mean, the guy who invented that, Lenny Bruce, those kind of people like Don Rickles, I guess it got to a point where they're like, why were you letting the Jews say that shit? But there's still people that enjoy it. But I guess when an Indian guy says it, it's a natural evolution. The Jews at one time were the minority, were oppressed, did need to pass, and did need to, sort of express. I think it leveled the playing field as far as integration. I think those jokes are about integrating different races into the dialogue by taking shots at them. And I guess that the paradigm has shifted.
So that actually makes it seem kind of noble, like doing all these,
I never was somebody that had a problem with jokes that I didn't see stereotyping as racist, unless it was done in an angry way. Like if it's done to trivialize, or condescend, I find that offensive. But if it is, saying something that is relatively true, despite the fact that it may be a generalization. If it's funny, it's funny, and if it's true, it's true, and that's that.
So you think, so for somebody like Carlos Mencia, have you seen a lot of his stuff?
I've seen some of his stuff.
Have you seen his stuff about Arabs?
No.
You should listen to it. It's amazing. It's like very angry and violent and.
Yeah, well, I think there was a lot of that sentiment in America. I don't, Mencia, I don't know enough about what he does to, what people say is true, that he's stolen material, I think that's problematic. And I think that a lot of people find him to be racist. I don't know enough about what he does. All I know about Carlos Mencia is that he's been doing stand-up for a long time. Yeah. And that, it was not some sort of weird overnight fluke that he became popular. I have seen him perform a couple of times, and he's very charismatic and angry. So you're saying that he's racist.
I do think he's racist, yeah.
Right. And that he doesn't get a pass because he's Hungarian and Mexican.
No. Yeah. Well, I mean, it's hard when he's advocating for, bombing and killing people. He's like, just kill everybody over there.
Right, so he's playing into
cheering
the American.
Yeah. And,
See, that's exactly what I said was the wrong thing to do.
Right. Well, the other interesting thing you said was you like stereotype humor, or you don't dislike it. It's fine as long as it.
No, it took me a long time to realize that when you see a culture speak to itself, if you see a black comedian speaking to the black community, utilizing stereotypes that obviously exist as community signifiers, and having that community laugh hysterically at the common acknowledgement of those stereotypes, then it exists. It's a fairly hackneyed bit of business. I mean, I think
that's the main problem.
Right. I think the real crime is that they're hackneyed.
Cliched, yeah.
There's no real way to do it.
There's only so many stereotypes, and if you're doing jokes about stereotypes, you're doing jokes that many people have done before.
But what's interesting is that you're a new stereotype, or that you see the Axis of Evil comics.
No, but plenty of people have done. I mean,
no, but if you were to perform for an Indian or Pakistani audience, an American Indian or Pakistani,
I don't do well, by the way, in front of Indian and American.
Well, I'm sure because you are not going after that. You are not somebody that's speaking to the community. You're American minded in the sense that you want to speak your own voice.
Right.
So
right. That's an interesting thing.
That is
individuality is such like an American, Western thing that we don't have as much of a concept of.
But what I'm saying is, though, in terms of communities integrating themselves into the American experience, when you look at guys like Ahmed, Maz Jobrani, Aaron Cater, and the other one, Dino Badala, Palestinian. I guess he does it sometimes, but there are tremendously large American communities of Muslims, of Pakistanis, I would imagine, certainly of Arab people, that one of the ways that the Jews passed and one of the ways the blacks sought a cultural identity was through performing and through comedy. So what you're seeing now is that there's a whole bevy, I would imagine, of Pakistani or Arab stereotypes that we don't even know that community finds hilarious.
Oh, yeah, definitely. So very specific stuff.
Right. So if a white comic was to figure out what those were, but the only way he would know that is by marrying into it or spending time in the community. Then it would be kind of interesting. But I just think that once that a white guy can do that kind of stuff, that culture that ethnic group has integrated.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, when I was doing my show, I would certainly have a lot of people come up to me who really related to specific parts of the show without getting too specific. I did get a lot of emails from people who really related to it, and it was a piece of the population that I didn't know existed, people who had sort of been through the things that I've been through.
Right. Well, the big fear of any religious group, certainly one that comes from outside of the States, even with the Jews, is that the primary intention is the propagation of the religion. I mean, bottom line is that they terrify you into staying a Muslim no matter what and making more Muslims.
Right.
So the big fear, and it was with the Jews too, and they couldn't pull it off. I mean, it's hard to find a Jew who'll marry a Jew. I mean, who wants to put up with that? But what I'm saying is that, that's what America does, and that's what the big fear of these insulated religions and ethnicities is, that how are we going to maintain our national identity and our religious identity if they become Americanized?
Right, and especially, in America, the emphasis on individuality in a lot of ways goes directly against what a lot of these religions stand for.
Right.
Like, it goes totally counter to it.
Right. You want groupthink.
You want groupthink, yeah. And, the interesting thing for me has been that, and I haven't really been able to figure it out in a way that makes sense to me, is I do have sort of an identity crisis. Like, I don't know, there's no really one group that I can, identify with. And, I was at a mosque recently, and it was a big mosque with, a couple hundred people, and they were, doing prayers or whatever, and I looked around, and there's, a real power in being in a room and realizing everybody in this room thinks like me about this, and that identity and feeling of belonging, and I don't really feel like I have that anymore. Like, do you?
That's interesting, because I don't have that in my life, and that is the power of community, is what you're talking about. You're
Right.
talking about the power of community,
right?
And there's a lot of Christian megachurches that have been built to establish that feeling, that community. Like, a lot of the Christian megachurches have sort of moved away from Jesus.
Right, it's more about community.
Right.
Yeah.
So, the sad thing is that, in a democracy, if the democracy was engaged and people were civic-minded, that you would have that sense of community in neighborhoods, in towns, and people would be involved in local politics and their schools and everything else. And now that people are so selfish that individuality that you're talking about has detached people completely from what the national fabric of America is supposed to be about in terms of community, that they seek it out elsewhere, whether it's on the internet or motivational speakers, or extreme religious groups. But there's some churches that some people only go to church for that. It's not a matter of belief or following the rules per se, but it's the community. So I don't think that's unusual.
No, and identifying with the group. And I think, this is getting weird. I think after 9/11, a big part of the reason that the country was so, we were talking earlier a little bit about these negative sentiments towards the Middle East and Muslims, and people sort of, America. I think that happened because a lot of these people suddenly had a cause that they could latch onto, and somebody that they could identify. You don't really sit around thinking of yourself as a patriotic American usually, but then people suddenly had this thing that they could be part of something bigger than themselves.
From the late 40s on, the Cold War defined this country.
Right, and this is
in terms of
the
nationalism.
Nazis. That's what people were able to do, is suddenly they could be a part of history. So,
but World War II, I think, was one of was actually people felt that it was a just cause, and that they could get behind it. The Cold War was a little amorphous, if that's the right word. That there was just this this
vague threat,
this pending threat of global destruction. And I think that was played upon, not unlike, I think 9/11 was played upon to create that jingoistic fear. That, when you really look at the numbers of Muslims, it's profound. When you look at the numbers of fanatic Muslims, it's minimal.
Yeah.
But the idea that, any Muslim is some sort of, easily flipped
More
Manchurian candidate.
Right, exactly. They just need to flip the switch and we're ready to go.
Well, we covered a lot.
Did we?
Yeah. Do you want to lighten it up? Do you sing or anything?
No, Islam does not allow singing. And we're back.
Oh, thank you.
No, actually, I am Shiite, and we're not supposed to listen to music.
Really?
Yeah, that's, a thing.
Shiite and Shia.
That's the same.
Okay.
Shia. We call ourselves Shia. You guys call us Shiites.
So there's Shia and Sunni.
Shia and Sunni are the two big ones. Yeah, and we
What
have
are the other franchises?
Those are the two big ones. Those are the McDonald's and Burger King.
Yeah, there's no smaller ones. Yeah.
We got some. There's Wendy's and A&W, but who gives a shit about those?
Yeah, they're barely hanging on.
They're barely hanging on.
Yeah, even with the salad bar, it didn't help.
They've just got a couple.
So you're Shia.
Yeah.
And you can't dance.
No, I have no rhythm.
But you're not allowed to?
I'm basically white on the inside.
Now, see, that was racist.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sure, but like we said, I'm allowed to say these things.
But you wouldn't be like a black guy who. Can you talk like a white guy?
Nah, I can do. Coca-Cola. I don't know. I do like impressions of. What do you want me to say? I like Coca-Cola.
That's interesting. So you kind of talk like a gay Southern white guy.
Yeah. Brown guy that sounds like a gay Southern white guy. That happens.
Does it?
No. But sometimes it is interesting when I see my people who are clearly gay. I'm like, oh, good for you. You probably had to fight so much to get to the point where you're like wearing a scarf. Yeah, and then it's just,
no,
we're not gay yet.
No,
yeah.
no.
I definitely had kids in high school that I was like, this guy is gay. You
right.
know? And some of them, I've looked up on Facebook, some of them have moved here and come out, and a lot of them are married with kids. They're definitely gay.
Oh, yeah?
Oh, yeah.
Well, that happens a lot in a lot of different cultures.
Yeah. This is a thing you see a lot, like when I do shows in like middle of the country, Ohio or whatever, like at some theater, that the type of the guy who's clearly very gay in his mid-40s but married with kids and runs the local theater. Yeah. That happens a lot.
Sure. And you don't know if they're actively gay.
I don't think they are. They have kids and stuff.
So that's the way they want to go.
Yeah.
Let them go.
Yeah.
I think it's a mistake to assume, like, if they haven't come out or they haven't sucked a dick or they haven't kissed a man.
How do they know they're gay?
And if they just want to choose to live a life of quiet desperation and be a good father and a good husband
it's
and
noble.
Occasionally jerk off to men, so what? I guess it's sad, but it's a preference. There's plenty of things that I have in my brain that are. No, I'm not saying that being gay is a preference.
No. That's not what I'm saying. But like choosing that life, if they weren't, if they had their brothers, they wouldn't.
I don't know. How is it different than you choosing not to do your show?
And then we're quiet for a little while after that.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Well, but because I had so many factors in me not to. Well, you're right. It's their choice. They don't have to come out. Whatever. It's just a little,
It's just weird that, there's a cultural pressure to do a lot of things for a lot of different reasons that groupthink thinks it's true. But, if somebody has learned to reckon with it or lives with it, it's sad if the reason that they're doing it is because they, don't want to be ostracized or they'll be, they don't want to be accepted. They don't want to be made fun of or hurt or whatever, that they're terrified because of cultural reasons.
Right.
To be who they really are, then that's different. But if it's a guy that says, "Well, yeah,
I don't want to deal with this.
I like thinking about sucking dick, and maybe I'd like to do it, but not enough to do it, and I like my family."
Yeah.
But a lot of people think, "Well, that's going to explode someday."
Well, it might.
Sure, it might. But I think everybody makes deals with themselves like that, not around that particular thing, but you make compromises.
Right.
But it's sad when it's so culturally demonized. It that's not right.
Right.
Everybody should be able to talk about...
Fuck whatever they want.
Well, let's not go crazy.
Fuck whoever they want.
Right, yeah, if they're consenting adults and human.
Consenting human adults.
Right, or one human adult and something inanimate. I don't have a problem with that.
Yeah, that's fine.
But, animals and children, I think,
but
should
if it's
be
a
off
consenting
limits.
dog that's, like, enjoying it and having an orgasm while you fuck it, that's wrong?
I guess it's up to you.
The dog loves it.
Maybe. Do you really know what a dog likes?
Orgasming.
Yeah.
Well, no, I don't. But I'm not saying I could please a dog. But I'm saying if somebody is pleasing a dog, and the dog is not, the dog likes it.
Yeah, I remember when I was a kid, there was a guy I knew that jerked off his dog because he thought it was funny.
Yeah,
but
and
he's married. He's all right. He runs
it.
a dental business now. He makes dental molds.
I don't mean jerking. I mean like fucking dogs.
Yeah, I think that's sad, and I don't know because I don't think. I don't think we're really taking into consideration the dog's feelings. But you're qualifying it somehow by saying that
The
you know
dog's
the
happy.
dog loves it.
The dog loves it.
I still think that...
Orgasming harder than it's ever orgasmed.
I think that's fine, but you should keep it to yourself.
Okay. All right, good. I'll remember that.
I think that's it. I can't cause any bigger than that. Thanks for talking. Let me make sure I can